Hey everybody, welcome back. I don't know what this is, but I think we call it Venue Ventures. I don't know. Names, they're not important. But what is important is Bitcoin right now. And we want to see what's going to happen. So let's check it out. Just like we do everything else, we're going to always start it on the weekly and our weekly levels. Weekly, I want to change that to white. I don't like the green. It's hiding from me. Sorry. I'll speed it up a little bit. Anyways, we've had a lot of movement in the last week. Uh, Great reaction off the bottom down here, off of that ugly looking weekly candle, um, to basically retrace it in the last 2 weeks from 45,245 on that close down there. I'm going to look at these are the ones. These are the levels I want to look at. Obviously, we got our main level up top here, all-time highs, closes. That was a big weekly close there with that drop. We had a nice amount of sell volume that brought back up. So we're gonna check that out and drop down on the daily. So what do we got? Obviously the reaction at the same spot here, and we would like to see. Everybody wants it to go all-time high. I just don't see that as being the best possible scenario, honestly. Um, what's going on here? Did I select the wrong thing? For me, I personally want to see another retest. I mean, it would be great. I'm long right now. I'm long from about 47 something is my average entry, and so I'm in some nice profit. I'm gonna probably hold it throughout for a little while. But realistically, this isn't going to go straight up. I mean, we got lots of bullish, stuff coming in with the Michael Saylor and what was it? Was it a French company? It was a beauty company somewhere, a different country that bought like 40 million worth of both BTC and ETH. So that's the most recent big one. The Motley Fool, I think bought 5 million worth of Bitcoin. I just read something today that there's not enough Bitcoin on exchanges for all the institutions to buy what they want to buy. So that should tell you something. Don't sell it to them, first off. But let's look here. If we are looking at this top to bottom, this isn't looking right to me. Sorry, let me reverse this. Do I have it on reverse? I do. Okay, so I'm going to change this color because it's always clashing with my white. So I'm going to make it a nice bright blue. There we go. So for me, I want to see some different levels. So obviously we have the white is our weekly levels that are going to create some more liquidity stop zones. I mean, if we zoom this one all the way out here, you can see there was reactions all the way through, and we finally broke through. So needless to say, we might test this out again. 51.78. I think I have a buy order in for spot at 51.6, but not impossible. If we look at the, again, what we don't want to see is these breakdown. So we have this larger level here with the weekly close. If that breaks down, then we have everybody's going to be calling is the double top type of situation. But that's not going to come to fruition until we break through this lower weekly here for a true double top, which would then bring us all the way down to 40,038.8, which I've had on there for a while. The only thing I don't like about that either is once we get there, we lose this overall trend line. And this trend line is pretty important in the fact that this is, coming from down in this area here, not the end of the world. But again, if we want to see maximum gain, if we go back to this trend line, in that we lose this trend line, doesn't mean we have to go to this trend line, but most likely we'd test it at some point in time down the road. And so we would look at 2022, our highs being, if it can get back up into that range before the end of the year, we'd still see 100K most likely, with a longer drawn out sideways action without too much of a dip here. Might be good for altcoins. I don't see that happening personally. I mean, always can change, right? But realistically, I would see at most, if I'm going to go down on the daily levels now, I'm going to change these to, let's see what color, pink. I won't get too much in the way. We'll go with this kind of color pink. It's a little bit there, so we can kind of see these. And we'll go down on the 4 hour and see. So then we've got these dailies, and that's a weekly. I'm going to take this fib level off. We saw there was the 382 was around in this area here. Make sure everybody saw that. So it's right on that level, the 51,782, just below the 52.3 of a daily close there. So some levels to look at. Interesting in just looking at it from here. So these are potentials for buys, in my opinion, before we actually break all-time high. This is a great 4 hour, but this took it away. It retested it again, got rejected at the 57. Again, this is that weekly close. But great reactions though in this trend that's going up here. So let's look. We break a trend line, we're going to go down to the next trend line, right? So something, we got a couple in here that might play out if something. So okay, so it kind of gives us a little different idea of where we're at here. So this is definitely in play. There's a lot of space in this area here, right? A lot of area for this to break down. I would say I'm going to take this one off here. This one doesn't play out as well. But this trend line here, okay, and actually I want to see how this flows all the way down to see what kind of reaction this got all the way through. So you can see, lots of reaction, boom, 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 all the way up through this time frame. So, and you can draw properly. There's more of like a parallel channel in this case here. So realistically, we might get this break of this trend line and then a retest of this trend line down here. It could be quick, it could be violent, it could be a little bit less. But if I'm looking at some liquidity levels, let's see here. I don't want that. Let's look here. Yeah. So from this point to this point, oof. So we're sitting below this. So this is your highest time frame. You can see tons of probably more sell than buy up in this area. But down, we're below it. So now we're going to be looking at the next logical stopping point. We have a gap in this area here. So would bring us down again onto this 54, 55-ish range, potentially, maybe lower. That breaks down. Oh no. Let's roll it out just a little bit more and see what we can find. That is a lot of volume in that area. Lots of volume. So, okay. So for me, I'm going to watch this trend line in the next 4 hours. If it can continue to hold that, that's great. So we're building that rising wedge. And I think that we see the break up and probably pretty violently. But then from there, we're going to see another retest, most likely. So if we go, let's see, top to bottom. In this short distance here. So we get the 78 from this top to this bottom. I already have this drawn in here, all the way from 72 up to the 78 range, just from other fib levels of other time frames. This one here might give us a short-term idea. So we might jump up. Let's take this guy off so it's not so cluttered. So there we go. So the 100 is here, 59.7. So just shy of 60. That would make a lot of sense to me if we see this play out. So if this trend line holds here, I'm going to change that to blue so you guys can, when I say it, so this blue trend line holds, and we do this overall ascending wedge per se. get a nice violent reaction up to just below the 60, might break through it a little bit, and then we might get another retest of this all-time high here. So if you miss it, we get this area right there. So that 58.3, 58.1. Okay, so my most bullish scenario would be kind of a move in this direction up, and then we see a breakthrough here, retest, up, and then up and through. Might not be that fast, that quick. If the same trend line holds, it would be in that area there. Again, we've got 64 on that one, all the way up, and then my final, I'm taking profits up in the 70s, so 70 to 76, I think, is what I have my take profit sets right now. So that would be my most bullish scenario. Again, I think a realistic scenario would be in this range here, and we see a drip, drop, up, and then back up through, and then same thing. So that, I think, is more realistic for the short term. What does that give us to, let's see, today's the 12th, sorry. So that gives us Saturday to Sunday, kind of bottom out in Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, up through that way next week, and then up into next week, seeing, I would imagine this plays out pretty quickly, and we see, above 60 by the end of next week if that one plays out. That's my most likely, I think, would probably happen. Bearish scenario that I don't like, and I can't even call it bearish because I'd still be bullish, because again, we've run up to 58K, and I'd probably close my longs if we came through and down, and then this broke through. And I would probably close my longs out here, and then we'd see some, sideways action, something like this. Who knows? In that range, before we'd see some more. March would basically just be, March would be done. So, but I think the second scenario is probably the most likely in my eyes. We'll see. Probably the next 8 hours to 8 to 16 hours will probably tell us really what's going to happen, right? In these next few 4-hour candles. And we'll see what happens. This is not financial advice, right? It's just what I'm thinking is going to happen.